Astra Travelers, and welcome back to Tales of Teyvat, where we're celebrating our second anniversary today.
Woohoo! Can you believe?
No.
I can't either.
It simultaneously feels like 10 years and 10 days.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, for sure.
That's really funny because it does sometimes I had to keep going, oh, it's our anniversary. Then I was like, it's our first anniversary. Then I was like, no, it's our fifth. I'm like, no, it's our fifth season. Oh my God, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, the seasons are confusing because we do them broken up into different parts. Mm-hmm. So I'm always like, 5 seasons is 1 year, 2 years, 7 years.
85 years ago, we started this podcast.
So I do have to ask, do you think, go back 3 years ago, do you think you'd be ever doing a podcast?
No, never.
I didn't expect it to last very long. I was like, oh, this is this cute little thing that Amanda wants to do. Sure, I'll participate, and it'll last for like 10 or 15 episodes, and then we'll be sick of it and we'll stop doing it.
Brandon didn't know how much I would hyperfixate on getting shit done.
Meanwhile, this season we're gonna hit episode 100 at the end, which is mind-boggling.
The new season starts September 25th.
It's crazy because we will have over 100 episodes technically with all the specials we've done. Yeah. I have to say that if you had ever told me I'd be doing a podcast, I'd tell you were dead wrong. I can remember when we did our test recording many moons ago. We had 5 of us that day, not even 4, and now 3. And I remember being so nervous just to say add Astra in front of my friends.
Yeah.
The episode was going nowhere. Mm-hmm. It was just us testing our technology, making sure we sounded good on the audio recording. I was shaken.
Yeah. I was probably shaken more so listening to the first one because I'd never been a big fan of my voice. Like in my head, it sounds wonderful, but listening to it recorded had never been a big fun thing for me, which I feel like I've learned, and I've actually just gotten better with speaking in general because I'm like, let me make sure that I don't high pitch my voice constantly.
Listening to yourself makes you way too aware.
Yes.
So, travelers, we want to celebrate our second anniversary today. So we wanted to kind of take all of us, including ourselves, back in time to spring of 2022 when the idea of doing a podcast really started floating around in our brains. It's really crazy to think that it was spring.
Yeah.
We're in a very small Discord server with our closer friends, and we were just like bullshitting quite literally about lore and discovering things as we talked. I think that's when I discovered Kaya and D-Luke were brothers. I was flipping out. And we had a mutual friend who was like, I'd listen to this as a podcast. I was like, huh.
Yeah. The wheel started turning.
Yeah, I think it was Maury too.
I think so. I believe it was Maury.
She was like, y'all need to do this. And I was like, I've never done a podcast before. I don't know what a podcast is really. I had listened to a few. Brandon, you're really the podcast connoisseur out of all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do listen to a lot of podcasts.
What was like going through your guys' brains when Maury made the recommendation?
I was like, well, that sounds fun. I mean, we're always talking about the game together anyway. And it was still kind of COVID times in a way, at least much more than it is now. But again, I really just thought, yeah, I mean, that'll be fun. I didn't expect anyone to actually listen to it. That was the surprising part.
It's very true.
I was like, we'll have like 20 listeners and it'll be cute for a hot minute.
Like 18 of them will be our friends and family.
Yeah.
And then we'll get the other 2 will be people who hate us and leave really bad reviews.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, my first thought was I always loved listening to you guys, but I was never really participating in it as much because, for one, like you guys just always knew so much like off the cuff, and I'd be like, I read this little thing and that's it. So I was really nervous in the beginning and I think even the first couple of episodes, I was like, don't expect much from me.
No.
So it's like, I'm just going to be like the normal like person asking questions.
Yeah. I mean, that's always good because you can take on the sort of more casual listener perspective.
Yeah.
Which is really needed. I know it can be crazy when you're listening to a podcast and everyone is just an expert.
Yeah.
Not saying that I'm an expert by any means in anything. But when you're listening to people who all sound like they're experts on something and you're listening to it, it can be really intimidating, and it can make it so you don't have really a connection to it at all either.
Especially if you're just, you always have certain things floating in the back of your mind so that you'll reference them without thinking of whether or not people actually know what you're talking about, which I'm definitely guilty of. Feeny does a good job of being like, let's take a step back.
I just remember Maury suggesting it and kind of doing like a hands up if you're interested kind of moment. And there were 5 of us originally, and we had a friend who backed out from the get-go, but they were still super supportive and helpful. Mm-hmm. And I just remember finally getting the crew, and it was us and Al. And I was like, guys, if we're going to do this, we have to wait until after May, because I was finishing my master's. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do a podcast, at least right, and also finish this semester.
Yeah. And then setting up like the social media and doing all the planning, that took a little bit too.
Yeah, I think we made our accounts in like May or June, and we just started like kind of holding on to it.
Yeah, and just getting everything ready.
And then I also remember my cousin had a podcast, and I was like, I'm going to ask her. And once we get the details from her, we'll know. And she basically was like, this is the platform I use. Don't use it. And I was like, what?
Let me tell you what not to do.
And then she was like, this is the platform we should have used. And she suggested Anchor, which is now Spotify for podcasters or podcasters. I don't know what the hell it's called. This is not sponsored.
Log in constantly. I have no idea what it's called.
I just look up Anchor still. And it still comes up.
Yeah, that is true.
And I met with her, and she gave me her recommendations. And then we met with our other friend, Mike, who we've recommended Mike's art before. And Mike had a lot of podcast experience and sat down with us and was like, this is going to be a lot.
Yeah, he was honest.
He was.
Yeah, he was like, this is, he kind of laid it all out there and gave us some pointers and gave us some ideas of almost like a what not to do also. Because it was like, we wanted to make sure that one of the things that was great about how this even came about was it was just friends talking. Mm-hmm. And we didn't want to leave it as, people to be like listening to a bunch of friends and not have like a little into it too. But we didn't want to overly like script it or anything like that either, because that was part of the charm of it. It was really conversational.
Yeah.
So he was like, don't lose yourselves.
Yeah, this is like not scripted. I write out my intro so that I don't fuck it up. But besides that, like, none of this is scripted, which is scary all the time. But yeah, so then we launched. It's September 14th of 2022, one day after Albedo's birthday. So we can always celebrate the night before. We're like, not only are we celebrating Albedo's birthday, but we're pre-gaming for the next episode. But it's a bit amazing.
That was very intentional, I'm sure.
I don't think I knew it was Albedo's birthday.
Really? You didn't know? I just assumed that was planned.
No, we really wanted to release right after Sumeru. We were like, we just want to give people a few weeks with Sumeru, and then we want to hop in. And we knew we wanted to hop in around the anniversary of the game and all that jazz. And it just like the 14th was the perfect day. And I don't think I realized it was Albedo's birthday until we like really started running the Instagram, because we started doing birthday lore.
Yeah. And then it lined up perfectly for season 2, right? Or season 3, I guess.
Yeah, I think season 3.
Because it was a year later. Yeah.
Was Albedo's birthday on the same day. And I was like, well, what a beautiful fucking day. And last year, my friend was pregnant. And I was like, have your baby on the 13th. And she had her baby on the 14th instead. And I was like, well, I guess it's second best.
Yeah.
Yeah, Feeny was in heaven. It was like, it's our season premiere, and it's about Albedo, and it's Albedo's birthday, and here's Albedo's birthday lore.
I know, the cards truly aligned that.
It's it.
And here's my engagement ring from Albedo. And here's a birthday fanfic about Albedo.
I think it was even crazy too, thinking about, like B said, about thinking that people were actually going to listen, that once we actually saw that there were people listening, it was almost frightening as well. It started to get a little bit like, wait, 100 people listen to us? Like, that's insane.
I know. Now it's like, what, 13,000?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't even want to know the number half the time. I'm like, this is scary. I think I'm going to stay away from it.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that many people have heard your voice and heard you speak and listened to you, and you don't know them. it's like a little mind-boggling sometimes.
There are literally people falling asleep listening to this right now.
Oh, hush. Good night.
Yes.
Good night,
Which
little babies.
I think is so funny when we hear from people that they listen to us to go to sleep. Because I do that with certain podcasts as well. It's like, if I can't sleep, if I know I'm not going to be able to sleep, I'll put on a certain like calming podcast. But we're not the most calm.
No.
I'm always surprised that people can, be comforted enough by us to fall asleep.
Yeah.
We get a lot of like, I listen to you guys on my commute. I listen to you at work. You make the workday bearable. Those are some of my like favorite messages to get.
And it's one of the cool parts too about the Discord server that we recently launched is being able to actually like speak with people who are listeners who didn't know, like, at first, even with the Discord server, we're like, okay, here are our friends.
Yeah, here are our 5 friends who want to be here.
Let's see who else comes in. But it's been awesome speaking to fans of the show and stuff, just knowing that this game has brought us all to know each other. It's neat.
Absolutely. I always say that finding Genshin was such a perk of the pandemic for me, and that I feel not lucky that the pandemic happened, but lucky that my cards fell in the way that they did during the pandemic. Like, I've made such amazing friends. I did not know Brandon or Tiff or Al. Actually, I met Tiff once, like 6 days before the world shut down.
Yeah, we did it. It was us. It was our fault.
But I'd never met anyone on the podcast before. And these are people that I consider some of my closest friends. And we have a lot of friends that I would not have made if it wasn't for playing Genshin and like Twitch streaming, which is like...
Well, what's funny for me is I think I would have probably tried Genshin the pandemic, even if the pandemic didn't happen. But I don't think I would have gotten as obsessed about the lore. Like, I wouldn't have nerded out on it so much. We weren't all like locked in our houses with nothing else to do. I mean, obviously, if I could go back and not have the pandemic, I would choose that option. But it is just really interesting to think about that. Like, that is a part of the story of like becoming such a Genshin lore nerd, is being in the pandemic and being at home so much.
Yeah, it gave you the time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And all the energy, because you were just sitting at home with pent up energy, like shaking. You're like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah, let me I gotta get to AR60.
And I don't know about you guys, but like when I went shopping during the pandemic, like I would just buy everything I saw, because I'd be like, I don't know if these donuts are going to be here next week, because nothing was ever in the grocery store. So I was always on a sugar high, I feel, during the pandemic.
Amanda was like backing her car up to the door of her house, and it was just like toilet paper spilling out of the windows.
No, I was very demure about that. I was very mindful. I did not overload on the toilet paper.
That's good. That's good.
I had family that totally had done that even before there was a pandemic, and I knew that I could go like do a curbside pickup at their house.
Yeah.
If necessary. I was more concerned about like food. Like, you couldn't get meat. Like, I was about to go start killing boars.
Oh my God.
That's what they do in Genshin, right?
That one waypoint would have been so helpful in real life, because he just comes right over and you got to smack him.
Yeah, I think I just started to mix the lines of what was real and what was Teyvat. I think that every time I walk into a box lunch now, because they always have a KFC end cap, and I'm like, is this Alice's doing? Is she owned this?
Is she real?
But what have been some of your more favorite parts, or like a memorable moment? Like, what really makes you enjoy doing the podcast? Besides, obviously, talking to me.
Yes.
You might smile right now. You can't see it, but it's very cheeky.
There's been so many laughs. Like, I can't even come up with one specifically. Everything has made me laugh. Like, there was one point that I think I fell over in my chair laughing so much. And I've just enjoyed that, like just being able to hang out with my friends and talk about this crazy story, but also just be able to make the stupid jokes. I've embraced my inner Sino. He's come out. He's part of me. He's always been there, joining me along the ride.
Tiff is like really just becoming dad before our very eyes.
Yeah. I slowly become dad.
Tiff, no.
Tiff, no.
You could be Sif, but I don't think that sounds good.
I don't know. My friend's kid used to call me Spiffany.
Ooh, I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, he just couldn't get out the Tiffany, so it's Spiffany.
Sinif.
These are worse than my Buffy ship names.
I got a sinus infection.
No! Don't worry. I heard if you have some buff gel, it'll get better.
Oh, no.
That's Buffy and Angel, just so everyone knows. Not Genshin. What about you, B? Do you have anything that sticks out for you with the pod?
Well, obviously, my favorite part is just talking to you guys and laughing. But the other favorite part of recording is when it doesn't always happen, but I feel like sometimes it does happen where we just have like some like really fun moments where the different pieces of the lore really come together. And it's like something that we can be kind of proud of, at least to a degree. So I'm like happy about the product that we're putting out. But it's also, and I think I've mentioned this before, but it kind of satisfies that puzzle brain itch that I get sometimes where it's like, I want to solve something. So doing the research and like finding like how the pieces fit together, that's like really satisfying to me. And then being able to like record and sort of present it in a way that's easy-ish to follow, hopefully, so that it's digestible by other people. It just feels like a little mini accomplishment.
Yeah. I feel like this grounds me every week. We record on Sundays usually, not all the time. But it just, I knowing that on Sunday, I have a place to be, a time to be there. I'm like very almost like homework oriented in my mindset. So I feel like I'm like, this is my deadline. This is when the presentation is. And I love that. And I'm like, I get to sit down and hang out with my friends and usually laugh my ass off. And it's so much fun. Like I'm so happy that something that we do can make so many other people happy.
Yeah.
While still bringing us joy. Of course, there's the frustrations. There's the days that Audition does not save the recording file. There have been videos that have been totally deleted after an hour of editing them on the rare occasion we do anything video-wise. But even with all those things, it's such a good feeling. It's so like happy and rewarding.
It definitely is. Even, there are those stressful times, of course, that are going to come along with it because we all have regular jobs and regular lives and all that kind of stuff that takes up obviously a whole lot of time. So making the time sometimes can be just a little too much. But in the end, that for one, we're all so reliable on one another. Like we can, if something happened to me and I was just like, I can't do something, I know that I can rely on one of you guys to just step in for me too on the parts that I take care of. So it's nice to know because we're like a dependable group.
And we've had those moments. We've had the family emergencies. We've had the illnesses. We've had the mental health days.
Yes.
Sometimes it felt like I think that happened all in 1 month too.
Yeah, April 23 was rough for us.
Yeah, some weeks it's like all of the shit hits the fan all at once. And then other weeks, I feel like we do have magical weeks where it's like we're all available. We all were able to research. We're all in a good mood.
That's a top tier thing, yeah. There have been times where we've come on here and one of us just has to be like, okay, so first off, just fuck this. This happened today. It has nothing to do with the podcast. I'm pissed.
Yeah.
And we've never missed a scheduled podcast release.
Tiff, you just jinxed it.
I'm sorry.
No.
This is the season.
Season 5, we will miss a scheduled day.
No. But we've made it over 80 episodes of our own scheduling. It's kind of awesome.
Yeah, we don't have a manager.
Well, we have you.
I don't know if I'm a manager.
You crack the whip, though.
You are our manager for sure.
I usually check in to make sure we're still recording because I'm like, how if I want to record? So if someone else said that they don't want to, then I'll be fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're not feeling well, it's like if I say I'm not feeling well, Fiends is like, oh, well, we can push off the recording. It's okay. And then she goes, oh, I don't feel well. I'm like, we can push off the recording. She's like, no.
I'm like, no, I've taken 7 Zyrtec. I've taken a Sudafed. I have tubes coming out of my nose to drain. I'm ready.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm on an IV.
Yeah.
But I brought my laptop to the hospital, so we're good to go.
No. Luckily, we've never had that level of emergency. We recorded during not great times, but we're here. We made it. I don't think you can tell in our recordings when there's not good times. So it's all good.
Yeah, there was one episode I think I was like in tears on my bed with my back broken. And I just remember like I couldn't sit up. I could only lay down, and I had my laptop and my little microphone, and I was just like, "Hey, you're fine. You're fine. It's okay." And I listened back to it, and I'm like, I can hear it a little bit because like every once in a while I'm like, "Ooh."
And you know what? That's the thing, is you're always your biggest critic, right?
Oh yeah.
We notice things about our own voices in those recordings. Like you sit there going, all right, it sounds like I'm in my bed. Fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone else is like, wow, they're probably in like a studio somewhere. We're like, no.
Can you imagine us in a studio?
I mean, if we had the money, I'd totally go into a studio. That'd be lit.
Yeah.
Like Tiff mentioned earlier, we unfortunately don't make enough money off the podcast to quit our day jobs. So we all have day jobs.
Not even close.
Yeah. And that's what we do for the funsies still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any stories that stick out in any of your minds as like funny, demure, sad, like a real moment for the pod in your head?
I think, and we've mentioned this before, I think like in streams and stuff, but when we did the Viridescent Venerer episode, I feel like that was sort of a magic moment for us because we had never looked into lore of an artifact set before, and we didn't really know when we were getting into it how there's like this whole other layer and like all of these other characters we knew nothing about until we researched it. So I think that was just like an eye-opening moment for us where we were like, whoa, there's like so much more than we even thought when we started the podcast that we can dig into as we're going through these different topics. So I just always remember that being kind of like a turning point of like, whoa, there's like, we're not going to run out of material anytime soon, you guys.
Do you know, someone said that to me recently? They were like, I'm surprised you guys still have topics to talk about. And I was like, there's almost 60 playable characters alone. Like if we did an episode about every character, let alone everything else. A lot of people have given us great feedback about the Viri episode. That really took a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah, including us.
Yeah. I mean, I really think it was a turning point for me. I think it's one of the reasons why I like the artifact episodes so much and I kind of like cling to them in a way is because I know that at that moment, like I got the itch, like completely. Like I was like, this is so neat. And I just loved looking it all up, and like I just got so into it. Not that I wasn't not into it beforehand, but you know what I mean.
Get it. I get you.
And what about you, Finny?
For me, I've had in-person moments, which has been fun because I go to a lot of conventions and I bought stickers of our logo. And so I try to go out there and like be social, which sometimes is really scary. And I remember the one time at Comic-Con, Tiff was sitting at a table and looking at me as I stood there very anxiously holding like a pile of stickers. And Tiff was like shooing me like a mom on like the first day of school. She was like, you can do it, Amanda. And I was like, I don't know. But last year in 2022, I was at Anime NYC and I was wearing a shirt with our logo on it. And someone recognized us, Allie, who I now follow on Twitch. And she actually has her own podcast, Our Anime Show. And she ran up to me in a full Noelle cosplay and was like, are you in Tales of Teyvat? And I was like horrified. And I was like, yes. But it was just such like an awesome and fun moment that I did not expect to happen.
That's awesome.
Especially like in one state, because we have a lot of international listeners too. So it's like the chances of running into someone in the US, in New York, isn't necessarily common either.
Yeah.
So I was like, hello. Yes.
I would say that even along with that, it was when we were at Comic-Con, when I was showing you to go speak with people, you then brought people over, again, bed back. I was hanging out at a table. You brought people over who listened to the pod. And I was just like, wait, you do? You know us? Like, I think I was as excited to meet them as they were to just talk about the pod in general. I was just like, tell me everything about you.
They were new listeners and they didn't know our names yet. And they were like, who's the one who's a Raiden Shogun main? And I was like, well, she's right over here. I was like, I can show you to Tiff. But But I think, honestly, like, this episode was just kind of us talking a little bit about our journey to doing 2 years of the podcast. And this isn't us ending. Obviously, we have season 5 starting in 2 weeks. So this, don't worry. Season 5 is happening unless some weird tragedy strikes in like the next 3 days.
There's no asteroids. We're good.
No asteroids, no dinos. I'm ready to record from a hospital.
No cataclysms.
Or cataclysms. There's no cataclysms happening.
Well, there's always room for a cataclysm.
Is that like there's always room for dessert?
Yeah.
There's always room for a cataclysm.
But I do think what it comes down to is like, we really want to say thank you to the fans and thank you to everyone who listens and everyone who has supported us on this journey, including our friends. We want to thank Al for doing 4 seasons with us.
Yeah.
It feels very weird to not have Al here with us. Thank God she's our friend and we still talk to her. But without Al, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Mm-hmm.
Without our friends, Mike, who helped us learn more about the podcast, our friend Vanessa, who's been a guest on the podcast, who you will also see soon in another episode in season 5, who helps us behind the scenes doing some of the grunt work of captioning on YouTube so that we can make sure that all of our stuff is accessible.
Mm-hmm.
A huge thank you to the other Genshin podcasts, the Shade Chamber, who we share our lovely Shades of Teyvat Discord server with, the Residents, who brought all the different Genshin podcasts together originally. Shout out to one of their OG hosts, Dalton, for that. And to the Genshin Guys podcast. I know we've done a few collabs with J-Side specifically, who's one of the hosts. He's had us on his Twitch channel. It has been so fun getting to explore the community with you all. Thank you to Johnny Bailey, who actually made our intro music and outro music that you hear in every episode.
Thank you to Midwest and Elliot, who are our fabulous Discord server mods.
I just have a random thank you. I found out recently that one of our friends who does not play Genshin, doesn't play anything, really, listens to every episode. And there was a part of me that was just like, I couldn't stop hugging her. But thank you, Sandra, because that's just awesome. She has no idea what's going on at all.
And she said, one day maybe I will understand. Yeah. Yes, thank you to the friends like Sandra who listen with not a clue of what the fuck is going on. Because if you've never played Genshin, you really don't know what you're getting yourself into. My cousin, who helped find the podcast platforms, listened to our first 2 episodes and was like, I've listened to both your episodes so far. This is when we first released. She goes, I don't know what's happening, but it's great. Like, okay. And thank you to every single fan, whether you are in the US, you are international, you're a first-time Genshin player, you're an OG player, you're someone who just got back into it, you're someone who had a friend recommend the podcast to you. We truly, truly, truly would not be here without you. Because if Brandon's right, if we only had 30 people listening to us, we might not have made it past the first season. So thank you for keeping us inspired, keeping this excitable.
Yeah, definitely.
And for all your recommendations, we really do take your recommendations into play when we're deciding what episodes we're going to pick for a season. We've definitely changed episode topics mid-season because of recommendations as well. So please, please, please feel free to join the Discord server, which is bit.ly/Shades of Teyvat. You can follow us on Instagram, Tales of Teyvat Pod, where you can DM us and let us know what you think of the episodes. You can follow us on Twitter, Tales of Teyvat, same thing. You should be able to message us, but if you can't, you can reply to us. I know X is a little weird sometimes with their messaging. And you can always email us as well. We're talesoftevatpod@gmail.com. We do have our Kirara mail segment. She's on vacation this week, but she will be back on the 25th. Any questions you have, we can answer here on the podcast as well. And I just wanted to give one more thank you to Brandon and Tiff for doing this. I know that this was a crazy pipe dream in 2022 and that we didn't think it'd be here. And you guys have been there for me through some very hard times while we did this podcast. And I'm very grateful for that.
Well, thank you for being such a good manager.
Yeah. Oh, no. I feel like I need to get a name tag that says a Rite Aid Amanda, and then it says you're a farm tech. Tales of Teyvat Amanda manager. But I don't feel like a manager.
Regional manager.
Regional.
You're going to get the honorary cavalry captain. We'll strip that from...
No, you can't take that from Kaya. Let him...
he's fine.
No. He'll come after me.
You can be the quartermaster. How's that?
Hell yeah, because I don't think anyone's taken up that job since he moved up in rank. That being said, though, that's all the time we have for today. Otherwise, we will gush for the next 7 years. I know how much we love the fans. We love all of you so much, and we appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
We will be back September 25th to start season 5 of Tales of Teyvat. We are really excited. We have a lot of fun stuff in store for you. Again, you can follow us on social media. You can email us talesofteyvatpod@gmail.com. You can visit our website, talesofteyvat.com, to catch up on any old episodes, lore, random things.
Yes, and we might even have a little special something coming next week before the premiere.
You never know. We at Tales of Teyvat are very elusive.
We'll see what we can pull out of the marge of art.
We're so mysterious.
We're so mysterious. It's not like we post everything. But until next time, travelers, thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll see you next time.
Bye, year 2 nerds.
No, I feel like we're in like a school. It could be my year 2 of college.